Good morning. I meant to say this, before, but it escaped my mind. When I chant Sangye Chö Dang Tso Ji Chö Nam La, Sangye Chö Dang Tso Ji Chö Nam La, Chanchu Poda Zandi. Da Ki, you all say Da Ki Jin So Ji Pe Swenam Chi. So you want to stick to that. But when I say, you probably have noticed that I say Da Ki Chu She Ji Be Swenam Chi, because I'm giving Dharma talk. So it means I'm referring to the merit of giving the teaching. So then that's why I'm saying Da Ki Chu She Ji Be Swenam Chi. Since you really don't know the Tibetans, therefore you can just simply follow the text. So if I say by the merit of giving talk, then you have to say by the merit of listening to the talk, correct? It's actually the correct way of saying that. But you can stick to that. Stick to Daki Jinso Jibisunam. Just trying to, some of you may think, oh, what is Khenpo saying, So if you listen to teachers, they may, change a little bit. It's not a very, big deal, okay? Sangye Chö Dang Tso Je Chö Nam Lai Chang Jo Par Do Da Ne Kyao Such Da Ge Chu Che Ge Be Sui Nam Che Do La Pian Chara Sangye Do Pa Re Sho Sangye Chö Dang Tso Je Chö Nam Lai Chang Jo Par Do Da Ne Kyao Such Da Ge Chu Che Ge Be Sui Nam Che Do La Pian Chara Sangye Do Pa Re Sho Sangye Chö Dang Tso Je Chö Nam Lai Chang Jo Par Do Da Ne Kyao Such Da Ge Chu She Ge Be Sui Nam Che Do La Pian Chara Sangye Do Pa Re Sho Sem Je Tam Je De Wa Dang De We Gyo Dang Den Pra Chur Je Dung Al Dang Dung Nge Ge Jo Dang Tra Var Dung A Me Be De Wa Dang Ba Dang Min Da Var Chur Je Nye Ring Chao Dang Nye Dang Tang Nyam Chenpo La Ne Paran Chur Je Sem Je Tam Je De Wa Dang De We Gyo Dang Den Pra Chur Je Dung Al Dang Dung Jo Dang Tra Wa Chur Je Dung A Me Be De Wa Dang Ba Dang Min Da Var Chur Je Nye Ring Chao Dang Nye Dang Tang Nyam Chenpo La Ne Paran Chur Je Sem Je Tam Je De Wa Dang De We Gyo Dang Den Pra Chur Je Dung Al Dang Dunga Ge Jo Dang Tra Wa Chur Je Dunga Me Be De Wa Dang Ba Dang Min Dal War Chur Je Nye Ring Chao Dang Nye Dang Tang Nyam Chenpo La Ne Paran Chur Je Pal Den Tsa We La Ma Rinpo Che Da Ge Ki Wo Pe Den Den Jo Ne Ka Den Chenpo Ko Ne Je Song Ko Song Do Je Ngo Do Tsa Do So Paldian Dorje Changwari Kin Chabda Lama Karmapa, Chinkor Kunjin Juni Siji Panjuri Dam Dorje Nanjurma, Tinle Kunji Chepon Chu Chong Perche Chamda La Nanjur Kepor, Tse Ching Dut, Dal Metu Ge Kyong Wara Yenze. Kangchira Tsenye Gyalwe Le Topinzo De, Sabe Tangne Perla Chunda Yuring To, Longche, Nela Mimba Dawon De Jirwa, Tejer Dage Tongma Nyingje Teoparech, Tangbo Nga Che Dala Shinjurchi, Dagin Dishe, Ngula Chakche Pa, Sui Chun Chun Rangwa, Mepai, Dola Nyingje Churgang Te La Ende, Kang La Semche Tamba Rinchent, Che Pa Teye Kula Chaksa Che, Kang La Nupa Che Cha Tende, Deven June Te La Chao Sui Chi. Okay, so now we will continue with our topic. 7 points of my training. I forgot actually. So 7 points of my training. So we finished until the 4th, correct? Mass of Karmapa. I wanted to remind that actually because it's a part of Lojong and very profound from that point of view. So I want to speak a little bit about that. So the very first line, I kind of wrote it in my mind. There are 4 lines. It's one stanza actually. The very first one goes like this. May I develop enthusiasm in Dharma. In Tibetan we say lo chusundo war chinjilo. You don't have to say that. Lo chusundo war chinjilo. The very first one. May I develop enthusiasm in Dharma. The second line is may Dharma guide me on the path. Right? The third line is may path remove obscurations, or confusion is the right word actually. And the fourth line is may all confusions transform into wisdom. Some of us who have been practicing long time, this is one of the most, let's say, practiced lojong actually among the Kajupas. In Tibetan it goes like this: lo chusundo war chinji lap. Lo chusundo war chinji lap to so. Chu lam to long war chinji lap to so. Lam tulpa se war chinji lap. Tulna yi shi so cha war chinji lap to so. So it is not that there aren't, and there are many commentaries on these 4 dharmas of the Karmapa. Now the question is, okay, so what can help me to develop enthusiasm in Dharma? Actually renunciation, really renunciation. But here the meditation on impermanence from the forethought is meditation on impermanence, meaning when we truly understand the meaning of impermanence, it generates renunciation in us. And this is what turns your mind towards Dharma. First, this is what it meant by may my mind, or may I develop enthusiasm in Dharma. So Dharma guide me on the path. That actually is the second thought or third thought, which means contemplating on the fault of samsara. So when we contemplate more and more on the fault of samsara, that actually matures our renunciation, and therefore then this mind of, let's say, the renunciation, the understanding of the truth of suffering really helps one on the path to enlightenment. In short, this is what it meant. Then the third one, which is May Dharma, okay, may path remove confusion in oneself. And this, from the Lojong point of view, that would be the Lojong mind training, actually, of both relative and ultimate bodhicitta. Because both relative and ultimate bodhicitta has the power to do that. Especially the ultimate bodhicitta has the power to, of course, overcome the confusion, correct? And the last line, which is, may all confusion transform into wisdom, that is very much the ultimate wisdom, actually, of course, the ultimate wisdom. So we need to take refuge. The true meaning of taking refuge in Dharma, now we understand what it meant. We take refuge in this kind of practices. And this way, then one truly can, mature our mind. Another thing about maturing mind, we call Lojong. Lojong mind training, yes, it's called training the mind, but it also means maturing the mind. Now the question is, what is that mind? I guess it can be understood from two different, angle. First, the mind that we need to train, that we need to tame. That mind is, of course, emotions. All kinds of emotions, basically our mind. And the root of all of that is none other than the ego clinging, right? So therefore it comes down to the ego clinging. So maturation here means maturation of the emotions, actually. As we practice more and more, Dharma, it matures our emotion. I don't know how good this word is, but from what I understand, it means before I met with the Dharma, before I did this practice of the Lojong of the Dharma, my emotions were very intense and my emotions were very extreme. Now it's like, a person growing up. When you grow up, you mature. I hope we do, actually. It's questionable, though, but anyways, we say that, you mature. When we say you mature, it means you develop more mindfulness, you develop more awareness, which means you behave much better, right? This is the meaning of maturation. So here too, it's not that we altogether immediately are able to, just get rid of the emotions, not like this. As we enter in Dharma, and depending on how profoundly we understand or don't understand the meaning of the Dharma, the practice, accordingly the maturation in us comes about. So therefore, but there is no doubt that the maturation do come about. So here, this is what it meant. It's really, it will come up later on, but I'm going to say anyway here. Buddha Dharma is all about one thing and one thing only, and it is about taming our mind. In Tibetan we call Samdrub. So there is no other actually purpose for the Buddha Dharma, right? There's no other purpose at all. Now, when we say taming our mind, then now mind, again, like I said before, refers to our emotions of all kind, good, bad, ugly, okay? All the samsaric mind in general, emotion is called mind. So that we need to. But again, from the mind training point of view, our goal is the root of the source of these emotions. We need to find it. So, and that is none other than self-clinging, ego-clinging, or ego, let's just say ego, for the sake of it, and that ego. So our true goal is really to, to tame that ego. It's not only about taming, but it's about, doing something about it. It is about really overcoming that, getting rid of that ego. That is the actual goal, because until we do that, we will our emotions may mature here and there, but they still will be there. No matter what, they still will be there. They could be there in the form of, in the very weak form, let's say, but nonetheless they are there. Why? Because the base of that ego is still there, and that is the ego itself. The emotion is still there, and that is the ego clinging, the self-cherishing. The word I used was self-cherishing. In Tibetan, we call chenjin, chepren zinpa, dog chenje, dog meaning self, chepren zinpa meaning, cherishing in the sense like, one that is most dear to us is yourself. Correct. So this is what actually, if you really say this, it means, when we say my dear, it's somebody else, correct? But here, then it is like, who is my dear? My dear is me. Anyway, I'm not going to go too much in detail, but it's something like this. It's like I dear, so to speak. Chepren Zinpa. Who is most dear to you? You may say this, that people, but actually it's not so very true. In reality, you are the most dear to yourself, correct? So this is what it meant by when I say cherishing oneself. This word in English, I'm not sure how well we can understand, but so therefore, yes, we say, my mother is most dear to me, my teacher is most dear to me. Probably some Dharma fanatic can say, oh, Dharma is most dear to me. But in reality, those may be true, yes, they are dear to you. I mean, it's true. But actually the one that's most dear to you, it's inborn. It's actually you. Anyways, but that is fine. But it is about attachment, not the dear attachment. One that you are most attached, maybe it is better from this point of view, instead of saying dear. The one that you are most attached in this whole world is actually yourself, correct? So we are trying to lose that attachment. It is all about, reducing that attachment, subduing that attachment. Why do we need to do that? We need to do that so that we experience less suffering, less pain, so that we can really overcome the suffering and pain. Why? Because this attachment to oneself is really the source of all that suffering. So this is why. I actually don't remember why I came to this point. But anyway, I was speaking about the 4 dharmas of Karmapa. So one goal, really, dharma, mind training, it will come up later on, actually, somewhere. Actually, I think, anyways, it come up that. So, okay, and then that was one general thing. I just wanted to remind you that, it is good from time to time to remember the 4 dharmas of Karmapa. It's very, very touching, I would like to believe, when we say it out loud in Tibetan, And you can, of course, say it in your own language, translate it in own language. It reminds me, of my practice. It reminds me the importance of the Buddha Dharma. So therefore, it really helps me or whoever is, remembering or chanting these 4 dharmas of Karmapa. This is from our lineage point of view. Like yesterday, it was said that from time to time, to remind you, it is important to also, chant or recite the mind training lines from, or verses from the mind training. It could be verses from this book of the 10 Points of Mind Training. It could be from Bodhicharya Avatara. It could be from any of those books. But it is important from time to time to sort of really hear those, even the words. Words are very strong to remind us, our practice, to remind Dharma. This is why it says in the Lojong book, remember, that time to time one must recite the Lojong verses. So same here too. This is what I'm saying. All right, and then in the future, if there is a time, probably we can do this teaching on 4 dharmas of Karmapa. It's quite actually a good idea. All right, probably I'll do this next year. I mean, it's so far right now, so I don't know that yet, but it sounds like a good option, right? It sounds like a good option. Well, I need the approval of Karmapa. If he approves, and if I remember, probably yes. So anyways, and then another thing that I want to share is, in the such a lineage, and again it's very, very profound. It's actually very similar to 4 dharmas of Karmapa. It's called becoming free from 4 kinds of attachment. It's very, very well known. And it is one of the most well-known mind training teachings also, called becoming free from 4 kinds of attachment. This is how I am translating it. In Tibetan, it's called Khenpo Tsering. That means there are 4 things, 4 kinds of attachment. And these 4 kinds of attachment are the source of samsara and an obstacle to the liberation, to the enlightenment. If without overcoming these 4 kinds of attachment, then liberation, and the enlightenment cannot happen. So those who really aim for liberation, enlightenment, attachment, it's important to overcome attachment. In general, it is attachment, but there are 4 objects of attachment, so to speak. Being attachment is same, right? So what are those? The very first one is, attachment toward oneself, actually called to the life, to one's own life, attachment to one's own life. In this book, it says, in the Khenpo Tsering, it says, if you are still attached to yourself, then you are not a Dharma practitioner. In Tibetan, it's like Tse de la Shena, Tse de la Shena, Chupamin. It's a very strong word, actually, but very, very powerful. It's very true. Meaning, okay, so therefore the first attachment is attachment to oneself, mainly one's body, oneself. And the antidote for that is same. Antidote for that is, meditation on impermanence. Meditating on impermanence will help one us to overcome attachment. In general, all kinds of attachment, like I've been saying this many times. But directly to this, to one's life, actually, so to speak. And the second attachment is attachment to the samsara, samsaric welfare, I should say. Here, I think it means, samsara in terms of fame, wealth, longevity, all these things, right? We are attached to the wealth, attached to the our desire, actually. We desire wealth, we desire fame, all these kind of things. Praise from the 4 dharma, worldly dharma. 8 worldly dharma. 8 worldly dharma. These 4 of them is that, actually. attachment. So yes, anyway, so the attachment to korva meaning samsara, and antidote for that is, meditating on the second, on the thought which is called, on the fault of samsara, actually, it's opposite of that. The truth of suffering, actually, is the truth of suffering, so that is the antidote that. In the book of this book, it says that, so if I'm going to say these two lines together. The first line was, if I am still attached to myself, I am not yet a true Dharma practitioner. And the second line says that if I still am attached to samsara, you don't have the renunciation yet. So, Korowala Hena Ngenjungmin. It's a very strong word. So we need to get rid of that, these two kinds of attachment. And then the third attachment is, attachment is self-clinging, actually. Self-clinging. We need to overcome the self-clinging. Okay, the third line goes like this. It says, if you still experience self-cherishing, you don't have bodhicitta yet. And it is very true. As long as I experience this self-cherishing, then bodhicitta will not take place in me, because these two are opposites. It's like fire and water, we could say, or day and night. So likewise, bodhicitta and ego clinging, self-cherishing, are opposite. The direct, obstacle for experiencing compassion, kindness, bodhicitta is really the notion of the self, correct? This notion of the self. So we can understand that when it says this. So here, therefore it means the antidote for that is the relative bodhicitta. In this case, relative bodhicitta is better. So relative bodhicitta here is defined as, remember this term called changing oneself with others. In Tibetan called dak shen je wa, meaning changing oneself with others. This, like I was saying before, it is not physical thing, but rather we try to, turn around these two, mindset. The first mindset is the mindset of self-cherishing. The other mindset is the mindset of cherishing other. Okay. Cherishing oneself meaning, the mind that only and only thinks about one's own well-being and always puts one's own well-being before others and ignore the well-being of others. This is the definition of self-cherishing. I said this before, but I'm again reminding you. So this is the case with me, okay? And because of that, I'm not able to really experience bodhicitta and renunciation. So now I need to do something about this. So now the other thing, what is bodhicitta, the relative bodhicitta? The relative bodhicitta is opposite of that. So the opposite of that would be always putting the well-being of others before you and ignoring one's own well-being. This is the definition of the bodhicitta, okay? So here, when we say changing oneself with other, here meaning these two thoughts, we try to transform the former thought into the later thought, so to speak. This is what it meant by this relative bodhicitta, just so that you know. And the fourth, clinging, here attachment is according, now I have to say the line in the, the line is, if you still, if you still experience grasping, you have not yet achieved the view. View here means emptiness. And so grasping, you know that. Grasping, to the phenomena, grasping to the body, that grasping we have. So as long as we have that, then of course it goes to prove that you don't have the realization of the emptiness. So the antidote for that is ultimate bodhicitta, which means wisdom. Again, it is the wisdom, but the pragyana paramita, the transcendental wisdom, correct? This wisdom really has the ability to cut through this confusion that which made us believe that there is this self, And now when this wisdom is born in us, then we understood that, there is no such thing as self or phenomena, so to speak. So the realization of selflessness, of self, and the, and the, we can say phenomenal-less, actually, phenomenal. I'm just saying this word, okay, phenomenal-less. So anyway, I think this book is there in the bookstore, There is a commentary by Dza Patul Rinpoche on this book by Sachen Kunga Nyingpo. If I remember correctly, Sachen Kunga Nyingpo, when he was a little boy, about 12 years old, then he had the vision of Manjushri. And actually Manjushri gave him these teachings called the Becoming Free from Four Attachment. And I think that, and there is, I guess there are many, but one that I remember is a commentary by Dza Patul Rinpoche. Dza Patul Rinpoche is again one of the most revered, accomplished yogi of, our time, actually, so to speak. So if you are interested, I think you can find that book. It's a very, very helpful. I really, not me actually, I think all of the Dharma practitioners, these are the Lojong, hardcore Lojong instructions. And if I am really a hardcore Dharma practitioner, then I really need it. But if you're practicing Dharma to just pass the time, it's a different thing, actually. You don't need to do anything. So it really depends. Meaning how serious you are on your path. We need to be very serious about that. And I'm not saying that all of you have to become serious. It's up to you, it's all individual, individual decision how you do that. My point is that, this Lojong teachings is also not everybody's cup of tea. But actually, I think in general, Dharma is not everybody's cup of tea, actually. It's not a fancy thing. It's not something that it's in your mind and all this no, actually, it's reality. It's very hardcore teaching. It tells us the hardcore reality of life, correct? And we hate, nobody likes to hear the truth. Like we see, I forgot the line, harsh reality, really. Because we want to believe everything's beautiful, everything's perfect, nothing's wrong. Who is fooling? Who are you fooling actually? What is the point of saying that when you are actually suffering? So anyway, Dharma talk is not to please people. It's not to make someone happy. It's not like make sound nice. That's not a Dharma talk actually. There are many people who can make you laugh. You go to one of those, how you call, stand-up comedies, Oh, I'm not saying they're bad. Of course, they're very good. Go and enjoy. instead of coming to Dharma talk. No, actually, really. We need to know these things, okay? I'm saying something from my heart, actually. Anyways, so yes, because life is harsh from what I understand, but it doesn't mean you have to suffer and that horrible. But in general, you are born, you go through a lot of changes. You do age, Your body, for example, really go through so much pain and suffering. So if you say, no, everything's fine, it's not true. Anyway, it's a harsh reality. So therefore, Dharma in general, it points out, it's like a pointer, right? And it points out all the negative things in us. So many a time people don't like that. I remember somewhere reading it or hearing it, that one time this guy was reading a Dharma book. Probably someone told him to read this Dharma book, so he started reading the Dharma book. He didn't like it. It says he threw it away. Why? He says it pointing out all my, my mistakes, my secrets actually. Secret is in his mind. So it's like, I don't like this. It's a pointer. It's a pointer, but also we need a wisdom to be able to know what it is pointing to, right? It may be a pointer, but many times we miss the target actually. So that means I also need the wisdom, to be able to know what it is exactly pointing at. When you understand what it is exactly, it's pointing at our emotions. And when we really understand that, and when we truly, reflect on this is when the help is born, I would like to believe. So anyways, there are all these, many profound Dharma teachings, Lamrim teachings, Lojong books, that are very profound, very helpful. All right, now I think we will go into the root verses. I'm not checking my mail. If you're wondering, I have some notes here, so it's like, oh, this Khenpo is just, checking his mails. No. Because I write down some notes, so that I can explain it a little bit better from English, because you don't remember all the terms, so I try to do that. Okay. Oops. Fifth point, okay, the measure of mind training. Signs of maturation of mind. And there are 4 signs that he talks about. Like again, I said maturation of the mind can be 2. One, with the practice of Dharma, our emotions are reduced, subdued, they become less and less. That's one meaning of the maturation of the, mind. The other actually is why that is happening is the growth of the Dharma in oneself. So the growth of the Dharma in this case is the growth, of the bodhicitta, correct? As bodhicitta, kindness grows, matures in us, and, then the emotions are subdued. Like kindness, let's take example of kindness and anger as an example. If I experience more and more kindness and compassion, then anger in me will be subdued. It will not be uprooted, but it will be subdued. So this is signs, maturation. There are 4 signs. There can be many, many signs, right? And at the same time, we can say that all these signs are, are rooted in how well I have been able to work with my ego clinging, actually. The more you are able to work with your ego clinging, self-cherishing, now I'm going to use it as self-cherishing, it's really about that, because the more we are able to subdue that, reduce that, all these Dharma qualities in us, they, grow and they become more profound. So anyway, there are 4 different signs that he speaks about. Let's find out. All Dharma teachings are for a single purpose. This, actually, I already said, before. The first sign of the, how much my mind has been tamed by the Dharma is with regard to the ego. Because here, when he says that when Buddha gave Dharma teaching, the actual purpose was one single purpose. One that was, to help us to understand the fault of ego clinging, self-cherishing, and overcome it. It is all about overcoming, the ego clinging. But in Tibetan we say Samdrub, which means Dharma practice is all about taming our mind, actually, correct? So how far along are we in terms of, this development in our practice? How far along we have been able to mature our mind. This is what it meant. So the very first one, sign point of view, is saying that if you sense that, that you are not as egocentric as you used to be, so then that there is a sign of that, so to speak. The very first one is that, or purpose of that. I think it's generalizing, actually, right? As a Dharma practitioner, like hardcore, we could say, or very serious Dharma practitioners, or, to whom we call yogis, they actually really follow these instructions. So here I think then mindfulness is very important. They always are mindful of their ego all the time in their practice, while practicing, while engaging with other people. They always check, observe how they are doing with their fluctuation of the, let's say, ego clinging. They always keep an eye on it, correct? They always keep an eye on that. So that, I think, is a very good advice. It means we always need to check in on this ego clinging. How do we do that? We do that with mindfulness and awareness. So without mindfulness and awareness, this actually is very difficult. It's going to be very difficult. So, yeah, this will be the, let's say, the way to know, right? To know how I am doing in my practice and how I'm doing in, in developing the bodhicitta, and how I am doing in, in subduing the emotions. okay, how I'm subduing emotions. So there, of course, there will be different types of signs for that. So the one main sign is, to see that how your mind in terms of ego is changing, Okay. The second sign of maturation of the mind, rely on better of the two witnesses. Yes. What it is saying here is that it says that, how can I, or who are the people who can tell me how I am doing in my practice? There are two. One, you could say your friend, and the other is yourself, your own mind. There are two of them. Judging may be not the right word, but many a times we, based on their behavior, then we make this decision, or we think that he or she is a very good Dharma practitioner on their behavior, right? Based on their behavior. This could be right, and this could not be, right, actually. Sometimes people could be just pretending, that they are a great practitioner. It's just like only the physical behavior showing that, that I am a good Dharma practitioner. So therefore, the first, we can say, judge from this point of view, who can really tell you, how are you doing, or what kind of Dharma practitioner, on what level are you, are the other people. Here we have to, of course, teachers are different story. Let's say teachers who are advanced, in their meditation, they 100% can tell you how we are doing in our meditation. So they are the perfect, individual who can help us to understand how far along are we in our practice. In the stories of Marpa, Milarepa, of course, that is a different story. But general people, most of our decisions regarding other people is based on their behavior, So when, and this could not be always, always correct, so to speak. Now, the best person who can really, from these two, then the best person that really can know how far along are you in your practice, or how well you have been able to accomplish Dharma is yourself, meaning your own mind. Nothing is hidden from you. Nothing is secret to you as far as your emotions are concerned. You really is the only person who know, yourself the best. So therefore, any kind of secret, negativity, or good quality that you may have, you are the person who can really pinpoint that, point that out. So he's saying here, it's in the last line is, he's just saying that from these two, then trust yourself. Don't trust so much, other people. They could be very much wrong, because since they cannot read my mind, so therefore, for them to really, because mind training is about my mind, it's not about my behavior. So since they cannot read, they don't have the clairvoyance to read my mind, so they cannot exactly say that, Could be based on their intuitions, but intuitions can be wrong many times, So anyways, so here, this is a very good advice also as well. the advice here is that, one should never hide anything from oneself. This is from the point of view of emotions, mistakes that we make. Because if we want to really progress, then if you keep, ignoring them, if you keep hiding them from yourself, then you will never progress. The progress will come about when you do something about this mistake that you are making, correct? So when we do this, meaning like when I sit down, meditate, self-reflection, this is what it meant. Self-reflection is very important. Observing my own really behavior of the body, speech, and mind. Of course, in this case, mind is the prime object. I always need to observe, be mindful of my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, my perspective. Right? So that I don't make any, error, in my practice. So this is an advice, but at the same time, to find out how well I'm doing in my Dharma practice. So my own, not just intuition, my own, insight. I need to look into my own insight, if there's any insight, and also I need to look into my own confusion. In this case, both are very important. If I don't look into my confusion, then, there will be no improvement. I need to really dive down, so to speak, into my confusion, doubts that I have, questions that I have. I need to find answers for that. And many a times you find answers for those when you reflect on your own insight. Okay? Your insight. So in this case, many a times you don't really also need to depend on other people. This probably is what it meant by when it says, you are your best teacher. So my best teacher is my own insight in me. In this case, Dharma. Of course, I'm talking about the Dharma knowledge, Dharma wisdom. That. Done? Okay. Be sustained continuously by joyful mind. Okay. So it means, as a really serious Dharma practitioner, no matter the condition, they always manage to keep a very positive attitude toward all the adversities. This is about that. It basically means, always be positive in your life, actually, or in your lives. And I like that because our life is full of adversities, right? It doesn't mean, I don't mean to say in a negative way. I'm not being negative about our lives, But it is also not, wrong to say that, there are a lot of challenges. Of course, there are a lot of challenges. It's actually full of challenges in our lives. The way to really deal with them, manage them, is to have a very positive outlook, at them. That positive outlook basically is, of course, is, this mindset, thinking that, I can use this situation to improve myself. Or we can say you learn from it. Actually, that's the better word. Otherwise, how you are going to learn? Many a times you are put through you are put through a lot of difficult situation so that you learn about life. Correct, if I'm not wrong. I mean, I was never in army or any way. I never lived in what I'm saying. Well, anyway, so it's about that. What it meant is that, like it says, it's also a lesson. Suffering is also a lesson. Problem is also a lesson. So if you took them as a lesson, as a challenge, not from the negative point of view, challenge. So you challenge that back. Like you challenge them back. If we look at the life stories of yogis, Mahasiddhas. When I say yogis, Mahasiddha, I'm actually not going back all the way to the 80 Mahasiddhas. Even now, in Tibet, in Himalayan regions, and probably in the West too, I'm not so familiar, so I don't know, but I'm very sure there are, all these practitioners, living in these situations, and of course, they faced a lot of challenges, from many things, like from the weather point of view, from the shelter point of view, and from the provision point of view, correct? So here when it says like be positive, it has this probably is how we change all the adversities, into the Dharma. You learn it as a Dharma, you use that as a means to really, progress. Instead of getting angry, instead of getting stressed, then you feel happy about it. Why? Because you challenge it, and then at the same time you are able to really challenge them back. So, but the base of that challenge, the reason I gain victory over this very challenging situation really is actually the Dharma mind. But that Dharma mind is renunciation, bodhicitta, both, correct? Mainly the renunciation, ngenjung, actually. Without that ngenjung, then challenging can never happen. Challenging these very, challenging the difficult situations, adversities. So when it says be positive, in Tibetan actually it just means enjoy or all the life situations. Any situation you may encounter, good, bad, ugly. Any situation it may be, you find a way to really be positive about it. Enjoying may be a little bit too harsh in this case, but positive probably is, simpler way. So you find if we are someone who is, introduced into Buddha Dharma, and if we are someone who have some knowledge about Buddha Dharma, I'm thinking it will be little easier. Like I said before, it's because, Buddha Dharma talks about harsh reality. Why you guys think that Buddha, instead of teaching something very profound, very pleasant, the first word came out of his mouth was suffering? Really, the first talk Buddha gave is called Four Noble Truths. From the Four Noble Truths, the very first line Buddha gave is actually suffering. The first line was that. He says it is important, to know the suffering. Then the second line was, then one must, give up, one must overcome the cause of suffering. This is the truth of origination. So anyway, I'm coming back to this. Without that, this, the renunciation, cannot come about. So anyway, I'm just saying that meditating on the meaning of impermanence, meditating on meaning of fault of samsara from your own point of view, from time to time, it's very good because it really also helps you to to experience, calmness, I would like to think. Meaning, it helps one to understand why the things are the way they are actually. Many a time we question that, like why? Then you understand that. You understand the reality, the harsh reality. And this wisdom, this knowledge help you to, help you to come in terms with the truth. It's very important that we come in terms with the truth. We try to run away from the truth. We cannot run away from the truth. Or we try to hide the truth. Also, it's not going to work. The only way is to face it, actually. Facing it here, meaning with this wisdom, with this knowledge, correct? You face it, coming terms with this. So we need this. So I guess this one here, when we say be positive, this especially with regard to these challenges, difficulties in our lives, you be positive about that. And we can probably be positive when we know, the truth. For example, things change in your life. As a Buddhist, we're like, oh yeah, okay. Maybe not like we are said, because this is what impermanence means. Change is inevitable. No one can stop the change, correct? But that change will change, and that change will change. It will not remain the same ever. This change is not a one-time thing. This change is constant, correct? Constant. If we watch our life, our mind, world around us, it's changing every moment, every second. This change is something that is constant. You go somewhere and you think everything's all set, you find out it's not. And it will happen all the time, throughout the day, throughout the night, with your body, with your mind, with your friends, with the world. This is the truth of the world. We call it impermanence. So then you have an acceptance, When you understand the truth, it will affect you, but it will not affect you so very, harshly. Since you already have these expectations, so to speak, that, okay, it may change. Now you see what it meant by this, be positive from that point of view. But without this, knowledge, the Dharma knowledge, what life is all about, what this world is all about, the reality of the world, reality of our mind, our body, our friends, our family, everybody. We have the same reality. There is no other reality. There is no different reality. We live in the same reality, really. It's very important to know that. And that can help us even to have this, what we call it, equanimity, correct? The reason there is not so much equanimity and it's probably because of lack of this wisdom, regarding the reality. And also all of our expectations, hopes that we have, that we build up, is also because of lack of reality. Meaning, life cannot be trusted, correct? Life can never be trusted at all because it's impermanent. Anything, at any time, anything can happen, so to speak. So life is something, and everything that's happening in our life, there is no certainty to that. This is what I meant by cannot be trusted. There really is, everything is 100% uncertain. Uncertain is only the certainty, correct? There is no other certainty in this at all. The certainty is that everything is 100% uncertain. This is the meaning of impermanence, right? Whether it is you, your body, our universe, anyone. There's no guarantee at all. Anyway, so I think that's enough. I guess I can go on and on, like, anyways, so I will put this here. So that is the third one, correct? From the third sign. So the sign is, if you are able to do this, if you are able to find this positive attitude, while encountering challenges and difficulties in our lives, especially during the Dharma practice, that is the sign of the maturation of the mind, right? And if not, we still have to work, on this. We still need to work on developing this view. It's about this view that we need to develop. All right, moving on now. Fourth one. Okay. You are well trained if you can even withstand distraction. Okay. It has two different meanings, I guess. One from meditation point of view, other from the mind training point of view. What it meant is that if one is able to immediately, experience mindfulness. Let's say you lose your mindfulness, for a while, but if you are able to bring back your mindfulness immediately, that is a sign of maturation. From the kindness point of view, let's say for a moment, let's say you lose your kindness, but immediately you are able to, regain that kindness. So again, same with here, this was from the meditation too. In our meditation, we may lose our, concentration, but then, immediately, as we lose it, we are able to also regain the concentration, so to speak. This is, again, advanced, meditators and yogis. They are always able to do this. In their life stories, they say that for a moment I got lost, into these mundane thoughts. But then they say, with the blessings of the Lama, blessings of the Yedam, I was able to, bring back my meditation. It may be that, it may be due to the blessings of the Lamas and Yedams, but actually mainly it is because of your own inner power of your realization, inner power of your own bodhicitta. When our bodhicitta, kindness, compassion, when they are very strong, because they are very strong, so then they can be easily regained. But when our, let's say, kindness, compassion, meditation, when they are weak, we easily lose them, and it gets very hard to regain them. So here it goes to show that we're talking about an individual or a practitioner who really have very advanced experience in compassion, in kindness, in bodhicitta, and in view as well. Because it's very advanced, very manifest, that is why it doesn't take time for it to regain, so to speak. So we need to make this meditation practice very strong. It's also about that, right? As we can understand that. Meaning, like I said yesterday, I think, if we take example of negative karma, if this negative karma is very weak, then these on their own sort of disappear. Meaning, when we practice Dharma has this ability to overcome this kind of very weak karma automatically. Very naturally, we are overcome that. So we don't have to do a very specific purification for that, since they are very weak and they are overcome, just practicing, not doing any kind of special practice to that. But if that negative karma is very strong, is very rooted, then we need to do many specific, very specific practice, right? It can be many, many things. It is not only one thing. Like I was saying in the very beginning, that the most powerful antidote for overcoming of the worst karma, or karma is really bodhicitta. So we need to really focus on the bodhicitta. Or you may have to do some other retreats on Vajrasattva or any other yidam practice, so to speak. So I must include emptiness here too. Bodhicitta is very powerful. The one that is more powerful than, it's about relative and ultimate bodhicitta. Relative bodhicitta, without any doubt, is very, very powerful. But the one that is more powerful than relative bodhicitta is ultimate bodhicitta, actually. Because wisdom, uproots the cause of that negative karma, cause of that negative emotion. Like, for example, confusion. One that can directly uproot the confusion is none other than the wisdom. And everything is rooted in confusion, so to speak. So therefore, these two. So likewise here, when it says that, that that once when we become very advanced in the mind training teachings and advanced in Dharma in general, then we develop this strength, we can say the Dharma strength, that that will subdue all of these negativities in our mind, and to the extent that it will be very hard for those seeds to manifest again. This is one meaning of that. They are there, and they are there as a dormant, as a seed. And it gets, even when you meet with condition, these conditions are unable to trigger or generate this, emotion. Why? Because the power of your mind, of the bodhicitta, of the meditation is so strong that, that this condition is unable to trigger that emotion within oneself. So let's say in the very advanced bodhisattvas or practitioners, they don't get easily, influenced by samsara at all. Or they may not at all get influenced by samsaric behaviors. Why? It does not mean they don't have the seed yet. They don't have the seed, not yet. They don't have the seed. They do. But it's, suppressed, we could say, or subdued, by that realization, by that power. And then I think this seed becomes weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker, more weaker and more weaker. It's actually like a sick person, no? A very sick person. His health gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, and then eventually die. Likewise, here, the power of meditation is such that our emotions become weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker, and eventually they just, they just die. It's like this. From the advanced point of view, that's what he's saying here. So it's not that everyone can do it, not that everyone can have these kind of signs that we're talking about. Here he talked about 4 signs. The reason actually I thought about this, 4 attachment, becoming free from 4 attachment and the 4 dharmas of Karmapa is to tell us, the signs actually of the maturation of the mind. So we now, based on these attachments, 4 kinds of attachment, and how we manage to reduce them, subdue them, overpower them, the more and more we are able to overpower them, subdue them, control them, those are the signs. The ability in us to able to control our emotion, control our mind from very basic point of view. Early on, let's say, you were not able to do that, control your mind, your thought, your view. But now somehow you are managing to control yourself better. I need to control myself all the time. Like in samsara, that's the thing that, we really need to find a way to control ourselves. Meaning what we need to control is our behavior, actually, of the mind, of the speech. When you speak something, you really need to be very mindful of your language, things that you say, and of course your motivation and your behavior. So then here, how do you control that? How do we, how do we keep them under control is concerned is with this, mindfulness and of course awareness. Without awareness, mindfulness cannot come about. So yes, but again, the reason I experience where is this mindfulness born from? That is a question. The mindfulness actually is born from Dharma teachings, meaning when we learn, reflect, meditate. These wisdoms that we gain by learning or hearing, wisdoms that we develop by reflecting, wisdoms that we develop, that we experience by meditating, 3 steps. These are the foundation of, our mindfulness and awareness as well. So we can say meditation, here the very first meditation that we really need is shine. Shine meaning shamatha, the calm, abiding meditation. With the help of the calm abiding meditation, we develop this ability that helps us to to keep under control our behavior, right? Meaning mindfulness, takes place as we do more and more meditation. Anyway, so these are different, let's say, practices which will help us to experience this, to experience this ability in us. Okay. So, all right, that was the fourth. Am I doing the fourth point? Fifth point, right? Fifth point. Fifth point. The fifth point is called, it's like signs of maturation of the mind. So there are 4 of them, which we went through. Now we are going to do the fifth. Sixth. Sixth. From the standpoint is the 6th point. I guess it doesn't really matter, but we just say 0.6, 0.7. Okay, sticking to it, 6th point. Commitments of the mind training, samaya. Samaya gyaja. Well, I'm just saying that. Tamtsik, samaya, just general idea about that I want to share. One samaya comes with the vows, like for example, when we take bodhisattva vow, refuge vow, and 7 liberation vows, 7 liberation vows of the Vinaya vows, and of course the Vajrayana vow. Most of the time we connect it with the Vajrayana vow, and we probably think there is no tamtsik or samaya in refuge or in bodhicitta and bodhisattva vow. That's not the case, there is. But here it's not about that. In essence, yes, all tamtsik means same. Tamtsik actually is a bond, tamtsik bond. Again, so yes, commitment is a good word. It comes with this commitment. When I take bodhisattva vow, this is about bodhisattva vow, bodhicitta, then I am committing myself to the practice of the bodhicitta, correct? To the practice of the relative bodhicitta, to the practice of the ultimate bodhicitta, that is the commitment. And if we did take the vow, like bodhisattva vow, then of course there are commitments that comes along with the bodhisattva vow, so those are the commitment. But in general, also there is a tamtsik, in the space, meaning atmosphere. It's actually like atmosphere, Sometimes the atmosphere in the room is not very good, And then sometimes the atmosphere in the room is very good. I'm giving you this example. Tamtsik actually has that thing in it. When the tamtsik among the people, let's say the bond, 007. Like bond, what bond? 007. Not that bond, not the British guy. James Bond. Yes, so coming back to what I was saying, it's very interesting, really, why this atmosphere is disturbed. Because of emotion of a person, correct? first there was a party and everything was going well and all that. All of a sudden, a fight breaks out. And then it just disrupts the whole atmosphere. And it becomes very tense. It's actually emotion of a person can do that in a room or in a gathering. In a gathering, further gathering is very good, but then emotion of one person can ruin that altogether. So very powerful. Imagine in your practice, you're doing your practice, all is good. But then this certain kind of obscuration, arises in you. And this obscuration, which is very abstract, dilutes you from your practice. So it's disrupting the atmosphere of your experience of the meditation. This also can be tamsik from that point of view, so to say. I'm just trying to explain you that. The meaning of tamsik, that comes along with commitments, but in general, it is this, this atmosphere, a very harmonious atmosphere. Actually, tamsik will be harmonious atmosphere. I hope I'm saying the right word. And when it becomes, unharmonious, then it's disrupted. This is a metaphor I'm trying to give you. Many a times, friendships, relationships, even within family, but this is not because of bodhisattva vow or refuge vow or of this. This is what I'm trying to explain. There is this tamsik between ourselves. It's like DNA, actually, in some ways. When that gets disrupted, then conflict appears. Of course, then it's not a good thing. When conflict appears, then the atmosphere change. Correct? So this is really when Tibetan Samaya, when the Samaya is not so very good, then the whole atmosphere will change. But when the Samaya is good, then the atmosphere will be really harmonious, actually, so to speak, right? So just trying to give you an idea of that. So, okay, now coming back to this commitment, but this commitment, Samaya, is Samaya regarding the Bodhisattva, Bodhicitta. Okay, so let's see. Always abide by the three basic principles. Oops. I want to double check it. Right. So, three general commitments. The first commitment here is, to the lojong, but also general meaning of the commitment. For instance, like I already mentioned, we have these three vows. The Vinaya vow, meaning the vows of the seven liberation vows of the monks and nuns. And then we have the Bodhisattva vows, and then the Vajrayana vow, right? So when we take these vows, then we are to keep this commitment. How do we break it? We break it when we transgress that, when we violate the disciplines. So here he's just saying that it's very important that we did not, commit any kind of transgression regarding the mind training commitment. One example of this is, now I take Bodhisattva vow and then I commit myself to training my mind in bodhicitta. This is my commitment. So, which means what I meant by that is, when we take Bodhisattva vow, people go, Bodhisattva vow, I take it, sounds very good. The rituals are beautiful. They look at the rituals, yeah, I got this. But they don't actually understand the real meaning. If you understand the real meaning, probably you will not do it. So now I'm telling that, here when it says bodhicitta, it actually means from now onwards, I am going to forget about my own well-being, my happiness. I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to only and only think about the happiness, the well-being of others. Right? This is the commitment, actually. You tell me what is the definition of Bodhisattva vow. This is what it meant. There are other things also, like this is the commitment with the aspiration Bodhisattva vow. With the application, it becomes much bigger. So anyway, so here, that is one commitment. But also to simplify this, it's maybe not so very difficult. We're really saying that I'll do my best to reduce my own this notion of I will reduce to the best of my ability the self-cherishing intention in me, right? And I'll do my best to really improve my notion of cherishing other. I'm saying this in short. No, I've said this many times. So I need to remember that every time, all the time. I need to remember my commitment. So therefore, my commitment was that I am going to do my best, to think the well-being of others. I'm going to, I will try to put the well-being of others always before me. I'm going to try that. So we do need to, stick to that as good as we can. It's about sticking to that as good as we can. Of course, as an ordinary person, it's not that you can absolutely do that. It does not depend on our decision. You may make that decision, but just because you made that decision does not mean you can do it. To do it, we need to train, day after day after day. But it's a good reminder, reminder that how, important and valuable kindness is, compassion is, love is. Everybody needs it. Everybody needs love, compassion, kindness. It's a reminder that. And then the reminder that I will do my best to be kind, to be loving, to be compassionate to everybody, actually, right? I try to be not biased. These are the commitment, so to speak. So it's a very, 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 good. So, and I think now you probably understand that it's really the source of, all the goodness, source of all the happiness. The,
the day we engage in this way, we'll find out that you have more happiness, more joy actually. Because this kindness in itself is boundless joy. Kindness by its nature is it's a joy. And it's a joy of selfless, correct, by its nature. Meaning when there is no attachment, attachment attached to it, attached to the kindness, then by nature it is boundless joy. Same with the love. Love on its own, when no attachment is attached to it, when there is no particular object, that you pick, to love, then there is no attachment. So anyways, same with the kindness too, and compassion too. And so yes, as we do train more and more, then yes, I think one will be aspired, more and more to do that. So that is the first, let's say, first general instruction or general commitment. The second one is, I wrote it somewhere. Again, this is more regarding the discipline, actually. From what I understand, it means in the Bodhisattva vow, or when you take bodhicitta, there are these certain disciplines that we need to keep. So here it says that one should not, violate those disciplines in the mind, especially in the mind training teachings. What it meant is that sometimes, it could so happen that thinking, it is all about mind. So therefore, I don't have to be mindful of my behavior. I can behave in whichever way I want, because this Dharma is not about behavior, it's about mind. So you say no. There's something called protecting others, and I really like it. I also need to protect other people's mind. Because of me, I don't want other people to accumulate bad karma. Why would I want to become, the ground for someone else to experience negative thought? So it's very important to protect other people. The way to protect other people is with our behavior, So this is why here, when it says that, sometimes it can happen so that people, so Buddha says, I've trained my mind, I am training my mind. But as far as my behavior is concerned, then probably we think there is, a liberty in that. Liberty to do anything you want to do. No, actually that's not the case. So he's saying, no, you also need to behave, according to your mind. So we also need to conduct our behavior. It's a transgression of the behavior, right? You're avoiding that or violating the bodhisattva's behavior. This is how I understand that. The second general, commitment. And the third one is it means we need to be impartial. When it comes to bodhicitta, we need to be impartial, right? Unbiased, actually. I think now it's very really not just in the bodhicitta practice, but in general, this advice is very important. It's more like the advice in terms of, we need to understand everyone is equal. From this point of view, it's not a political, statement. Actually, I'm saying here, you sound it. Many political people say this. They talk about many rights. Human right, this right, that right. No, actually, okay. I'm sorry, I brought this up. But here, equanimity. From the point of view of compassion, kindness, that actually. So it's saying that we that we don't differentiate between sentient beings at all when it comes to the kindness, compassion, or anything, so not unbiased. It's one, okay, it'll become a little bit too, okay, so I'm not going to touch that. Actually, I was going to touch some other point, but I think it's not a good idea. Generally speaking, it's very important to be objective, no? So this is mainly what he's saying, be objective, actually. We sort of always judge, it's in our nature. And then we divide things into groups, in the categories, things like this. So anyway, it's actually about that, being objective. Unbiased. Right. The first three. This is the first commitment, and the first commitment has these three general, commitments. Now the second one, right? Yes, second one. Yes, second one, it says that I have to read lines, one sec. Remain natural, transform your attitude. Dempa jurla rang sursha. Two things actually here. One is about our physical behavior. The other is about our realization, our inner realization view. So as far as our inner realization, our view, our development in the bodhicitta, both ultimate is concerned, this is something that we always need to improve, progress, and work on that all the time, okay? The other one is about behavior. It says that as far as our behavior is concerned, no matter how advanced you may be in your path, you don't want to, expose, you don't want to show it off to other people, through your behavior. So therefore, you keep it secret. You keep your realization, your, bodhicitta secret. And therefore, as far as our activity, behavior is concerned, you want to be very discreet. like Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, they are always very discreet in whatever they do, They don't let other people know that how great they are in these things and those things, Because unnecessarily we develop ego, in these things. So therefore, if we look at the life stories of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, we will always see that how discreet they are. It's all about being discreet, actually. Very simple, yet discreet. They never show off anything. And as a practitioner, it is also very important, really. Sometimes in the very beginning, you are genuinely a very good practitioner. Okay? Very, very good practitioner. But then somehow, along the path, I guess you develop ego. You become a little bit more arrogant, or you think, oh, I know better. I'm better and I'm better, I'm superior. Then all of this early quality is all ruined, actually, because of this pride in you, ego in you. We don't want that. It is about really, it's really about watching our ego. We don't want any ego, any pride in our practice, because that can really destroy the whole path together. This is why the discrete part, when we are discrete, in our behavior with mindfulness and awareness, then we are always checking in on our mind, especially the ego part. It's so important to check in on our ego, as many times as we can. Otherwise, you see that, that there are many practitioners who were very good, but then somehow they, they become this very arrogant, practitioner. Then everything's lost, actually. The whole goal is, unfortunately, in the very beginning, all I wanted to do was Dharma practice. Okay? And I really stick to that. Slowly, of course, you gain some, some realization, good meditation. Then people start praising you. And people start respecting you. And then you develop your ego, slowly and slowly. And then you never progress. Whatever quality you had before, they actually are all reduced. So as a practitioner, it's so important to, focus on that. Focus on not at all growing any ego, and not going after this praise, and not going after you don't make it about having many followers, many people liking you. It's like on Facebook, right? Or on the media, like, 10 people like, 100 people like. Anyway, I'm not going into that thing, but it's same thing, same manner, really. So when it says that when here two kind. One is the relative bodhicitta, the other is the ultimate bodhicitta. My view, view here meaning insight. As far as my insight, my Dharma knowledge, my realization is concerned, this is something that I need to develop further and further and further and further. More and more and more. I focus on that. But at the same time, being discreet about that. From what I remember, it says that, sometimes these great Dharma practitioners, they just disappear for many years, 12 years, 13, 14, 20 years. They don't come out from that, let's say hide out, until they are sure about their realization, until they are sure that, that they don't have any, let's say, any transgression, until they are sure that they will not be at all affected by the world. Then they come out, to the world. So anyway, this is just something I'm sharing in general. But this advice is really very good for, for Dharma practitioners, and there was one. Oh, I'm talking to myself. Yes, there is this line, that goes like, think high, but live simple. This is what it meant, right? We must always think high, not from the ego point of view, but from the viewpoint of view. Yes, you need to think high. You need to have higher and higher and higher insight. So thinking high from that point of view. But as far as your way of living concerned, you live very simple, very decent. So anyhow, especially with the yogis or Dharma practitioners. Okay, moving on. First, second, right? Second commitment. Now, second commitment. Now the third commitment. Third commitment is very straightforward, actually. If they're straightforward, I'm just going to, do not talk about defect of others. Again, this is from speech point of view, but again, really, really important. What it meant is that, it's so important to really protect the mind of the other people, and we do not want unnecessarily to hurt the feeling of other people. So for example, let's say there is a person who is, blind. But I don't have to go and say, oh, you are blind. He's saying, don't say that, actually. Yes, it's true, he is blind. But you are saying this to hurt them. You are blind. Or someone who is, deaf. It doesn't give you the right to speak ill of him, whether he is deaf, dumb, or blind. So this is very straightforward. Some people like to do that. Some people really like to do that, meaning they like to, somehow they just like to say these very harsh words. And if I tell him why you say that, so yes, but he is blind. Yeah, but he knows he's blind. World knows he's blind, but you don't have to tell him that he's blind. He knows it, correct? So you're saying what you're saying. You're saying this to hurt him or her. So it's therefore harsh speech. Don't do that. We need to be very mindful of our speech all the time. I guess sometimes people like to show off, and so they say these things. Like, oh, you are old, I'm young, or you are ugly, I'm beautiful, things like this. This may be true, but why you have to say that, Someone who's old knows old. Let them be old, let them be young, let them be ugly, let them be beautiful, yes. But to say these things, harsh words, saying don't do that actually. Be mindful of our speech. All right? Then, whatever the faults of others may be, do not contemplate on them. Oops. It actually means don't think ill of others. Am I saying it right? Don't think ill of others. Somehow, people tend to think this way, or probably you like it, to think ill, ill of others, or maybe it's ego, maybe a confusion, or maybe just a competitive mind that you like, that you like to think ill of others. So you're saying just don't do that. Bad things about other people, basically it means, also it means don't wish bad things for other people. Maybe this is a better translation of that. Why is it that we, enjoy when something bad happens to other people? It's almost like we are not humans, Oh, good. And then no, maybe not, But you're like, oh, that's great. There's a story about it, but it's a joke, but story. A person has this habit of saying great, 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 no? Say, oh, great, oh, great. It's a language that people say all the time, say great, great, great. So, so one time his friend went to him. He said, oh, my mom died. He said, oh, great. And he like, wow, that was not good. But he didn't say this, he didn't mean that. But we have this habit. We have habit, but also we do really like somehow, as a practitioner of bodhicitta, compassion, kindness, then it's against our principles. Really, this we have a principle here, right? Principle. So then it's against our principle. In life, you need that. Without that, then there is no value in our lives. So you must have some principles. You must value them. So this is why he's saying this. And then it's not also very easy to keep up those values, but it's very important to do that. So yes, one of them is this one. They read our mind. They are all human beings, so they know how human beings think. Great masters who are teaching this, they were all like us, ordinary people. They all went through this, so they know us inside out. It's not like they were born Buddhas. There is no such thing as born Buddhas. They were all like us. But they managed, to get to that stage. And we will also manage to get to that stage. It's not that we won't be able to do that. It takes time, it takes energy, diligence, but it's achievable, 100% achievable. Buddhahood is achievable, enlightenment, liberation, compassion, they are achievable. But we need to put, from our side, we need to make this effort. Lots of efforts. Especially we need this, these inspirations in us, aspirations in us. Then yes. Okay. One more. Abandon poisonous food. Okay. It's a metaphor, as you can see. In short, poison only, of course, poison can kill us, and it can also bring us a lot of, suffering. So this is the example. Anything that brings us suffering or brings suffering to others, we need to know that from the negative emotion point of view, and we do our best to really control that. This is about controlling our thought, actually, as you can see. And of course, ego. Ego is the root of all of that, ego. Since this is the commitment, we remember, we are talking about bodhicitta, and commitment was that I am going to commit to develop bodhicitta. So anything that is against bodhicitta, we need to, get rid of that. Any mind, any thought that is against, that contradicts your discipline, that contradicts your thought, we need to first know that, and then we also need to, really deal with that. We need to get rid of that, right? So this is why here he's saying that, of course, emotions, anger, jealousy, pride, they are all, they are opposite of bodhicitta, compassion, kindness. So that is why here he's saying that poisonous food from that point of view. Again, here, so I'm going to stop here, but there are many things or practices that we really need to focus on. The first practice, along with bodhicitta, is meditation. In meditation, you are receiving the teaching, actually, right, from Khenpo Tsering. The meditation on calm abiding, shine. Never underestimate shine, okay? Don't ignore, I'm saying, thinking, oh, it's shine. Many people think like, oh, shine is like very simple. Oh, I want something bigger, higher. But first do that and see how it goes, no? The higher you can do, it'll come to you. You don't worry about that. First do this that seems very simple, that sounds very simple. You sit down, you meditate, you focus on your breath. And people are like, it's very easy. You breathe in, breathe out. It's not about breathing in and breathing out, It's about concentration. You breathe out, and while you breathe out, it is not about breathing, but it is about your concentration. While breathing out, you make sure that you didn't lose your concentration. And I'm very sure you will lose your concentration many times. What does that tell you? That tells you you have zero meditation ability. And while breathing in, we many times lose our concentration. Our mind is here, there, but not here, right? There's one object that I am concentrating, but it's not there. It's here, yesterday, day before yesterday, in your country, somewhere in the forest, but not here. See? Not easy. We concentrate on that while breathing in. So if I manage to really remain concentrated while breathing out, while breathing in, it's a very good sign. The more and more we do that, then it is not about breathing. Then it becomes about your own experience of the breathing. Then you know about breathing. Your concentration is your experience. When you breathe out, you know your experience. When you breathe in, your experience, second step. So anyhow, that's how we develop concentration, Shine part. And through this, then it becomes the gateway for experiencing mindfulness. Mindfulness is only born afterwards. And along with this mindfulness, clarity is always there. You can say clarity or awareness is always there with the mindfulness. And this awareness, this mindfulness, is the one that will help us with this meditation that we had before. Meaning, we need, the whole point here from what I understood was, we need to be mindful of our behavior of the body, speech, and mind, right? I need to be, mindful of my mind, my thought, my view, and of course my speech and my behavior, physical behavior. And I can do that in a very, proper manner when I have some, some experience of the mindfulness, and that is born from that Shine. Control, I guess, keeping under control our emotions, keeping under control our behavior. We do that with the help of mindfulness and awareness. And we must remember those are the result of meditation, okay? And then the rest of meditation will also come about. So along with bodhicitta, it's also very important to also, really do that meditation. Do the meditation, do the cultivating of the bodhicitta. Then we'll get somewhere. All right, so I'm going to now stop here for today. And then I'll take, I guess I can take a couple of questions.
Khenpo, thank you for your teachings. And my question to the to the conclusive part of your lecture: how not to become like zombie or robot when you control everything? Not to be like. How to combine spontaneity with control of all of this you said. Thank you.
Okay. When I say control, we are controlling it by taking help of mindfulness and awareness. So when we take help of mindfulness and awareness, then it's actually an insight. Okay, it's a wisdom. Mindfulness, whereas wisdom is an insight. You won't be zombie then at all. But if we are forcing it physically or something, then probably yes.
Good morning, Khenpo. Thank you so much. I have a question more in practical way about what we are saying here, I think, and it will be like more easier for me to understand. Because sometimes we talk about emptiness or these kind of things, but I don't see any emptiness, and it's not the way it's happening in my mind actually. Because I start Buddhism by practicing a little bit Shine and everything. Everything was going very well. I was so happy and everything. But by practicing more and more, like my mind becomes more clear after Shine. And these times I've realized that I have a lot of negative emotions, and more I practice and more it becomes like more painful every time. I really suffer of these negative emotions. And then I would like to ask you if by doing shamatha it will become I gain more clear, and I will suffer more and more, or if it's like be less meaningful, this, I don't know how to say, this emotion will just disappear a little bit, or it will be by the way of lactong, that it will disappear. Or, yeah, I would like some advices and your point of view about this. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, so when they talk about the signs of meditation, meaning what are the signs that meditation, especially Shine, is taking in me. So the one sign is the sign of waterfall. Waterfall compared to river is very harsh. Okay, so it's saying, meaning because I am not used to meditate, therefore I never realize, I never notice that how many thoughts occur in my mind in a very short period of time. It's very normal. In like 10 minutes, many thoughts can come about, but we never think, we never count, we never think. When you sit down and when you start really focusing, you come to know, oh, there are so many thoughts. And it feels like, these thoughts are coming because I'm meditating, but that's not true. It's always been there, but now you are actually noticing it. Another example of that is, let's say there is at the traffic, or someone, an individual on the road, he has this tea stall. I'm giving an example. And of course, cars go, cars come, cars go, cars come. He never pay attention. But one day he had nothing to do. So he was watching the cars and it's like, wow, today there are so many cars coming and going. But actually that day there were less cars than normally. But because that day he had nothing to do, so he decided to just, he had nothing. So he started, paying attention to the car. So my point is, your emotion is not, our emotion do not increase in number because we meditate, okay? So it's a good sign that when you understand, when we recognize, then it's a sign that you have some wisdom in you, some clarity, I should say. It's helping you to understand, really there are these emotions, okay? This is first step. The second step then is, with mindfulness. Mindfulness, according to Shantideva, also has the ability to help you to, to protect, to guard actually your emotion, against emotion. It helps you to guard your mind against emotion. Like Shantideva says that if you want to guard your mind, you do so with the help of mindfulness and awareness, especially mindfulness. So to answer your question, with meditation, when we experience, when the maturation of the mindfulness, happens more and more, it very automatically guards our mind actually. It's not controlling forcefully. Guarding, controlling is same here. So yes, it happens very automatically. Shine, it's a good question. Many people think Shine is all about, it's like more external thing, because we give example of breathing, image, so they think it's an external object. But in the actual Shine is a state of mind. So it also includes clarity, because what is meditating? Mind is meditating, correct? So if mind is meditating, mind is the one that is meditating, mind is the one that is experiencing the meditation. Mind has the characteristics of wisdom, clarity, this mind, this we call rigpa, or awareness. And at the same time, this clarity has the ability, as soon as you have that clarity, it actually becomes the guard for us, for those emotions to arise. So my point is, as we meditate more and more, and when this meditation gets more and more matured, very naturally, really, we experience this help from them. We automatically, we are able to, we here meaning my mind, not, of course, body do not guard or anything. What is guarding my mind is my mind, right? What else can guard your mind? So that mind is this mind that you developed. It's an insight, a concentration, and insight that you developed by practicing the meditation. So it will come, actually. And then as it, mature more and more and more, advance more and more, then it's given another name called vipassana. It will come up later on. They are all connected. But yes, help, meditation, in short, meditation really will help. So to say that that meditation do not at all increase our emotions. They don't generate emotions at all. They really only help us to recognize it. We become aware of those emotions. Yeah. All right, I think we'll stop now. It's already 11:30. Sunam de tamche zeba nye tona nye be dana pomche chega na che balai tupa ye siban sole ando do re shoy gewan de ye kewok sunam ye she todo sunam ye she le chungwa tamba kunye to bare sho minjoro lumbo kuye ta shi sho yen la tukjo sungge ta shi Tadala time toje ta shin shon gyave ko son toje ta she shoy changcho semcho rembo che ma che pa nam che chure che pa nyam pa me pa ta khong ne kong to pe lo re shoy. Thank you, everyone. Have a good lunch.